moving ahead for the panel discussion number 2, which is titled Technological Way Forward for Ensuring a Green and Sustainable Environment. And this panel is going to talk about the role of technology and how it is ensuring the contribution of ours towards ensuring the green and clean environment. And for this panel, I have a good set of panelists, and I would like to invite them on the stage, moving with the very first panelist, Ajitabh Sharma ji, the Chairman and Managing Director of Jaipur City Transport Services Limited. Can we have a round of applause for our esteemed speaker? Next we have Shri Binod Kumar, the Municipal Commissioner of Kolkata Municipal Corporation. Thank you so much for joining here, sir. Next I would like to welcome Ma'am Swati Bhadauria ji. She is the Additional Secretary to Governor from Government of Uttarakhand. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming all the way. Next, I would like to welcome our speaker from RailTel, Shri Zakir Husain Siddiqui. He's the Executive Director for Eastern Region. Thank you so much, sir, for joining here for this panel discussion. And lastly, our moderator for this session, Shri Randhir Kumar, the Secretary of Department of IT and Technology, and also the program chair and program host for today's program. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to moderate this panel. And for this panel, we have precisely 45 minutes before we break out for lunch. Over to Shri Randhir Kumar, sir, for the moderation of the panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome Binod, sir, who is Principal Secretary to Government of West Bengal and Municipal Commissioner, Kolkata. I welcome to the panel Ajitabh Sharma, sir, who is CMD, Jaipur City Transport Services Limited. I welcome Madam Swati Bhadauria, Additional Secretary to Governor, Government of Uttarakhand. I welcome Zakir Husain Siddiqui Sahib, who is Executive Director, Eastern Region, RailTel Corporation. We will have in this panel discussion, which is the second one today, on technological way forward for ensuring a green and sustainable environment. I'd like to start with the Commissioner Municipal Corporation of the city where we are sitting in right now. So, sir, I would like to know, in Kolkata we face, during monsoon, we face sometimes waterlogging and other things. And so far as my information goes, that you have come up with a solution on IoT-based devices for continuous monitoring, how to put on the devices, how to switch off the devices remotely. You have set up a control room also for that purpose, which is continuously monitoring, which is providing a very good relief to the citizen. And its continuous work is going on that. I would like to share your experiences and what did you do in that, sir?
Thank you, Randhir, and esteemed panelist on the dais. Like other metros, Kolkata also faces the problem of urban flooding. The typical problem that Kolkata has is that it is surrounded by the tidal river, being so close to the Bay of Bengal, and that is why the river level changes with the tide. So they are every 6 hours you have high tide and then the low tide. So on twice in a day we have 2 high tides and 2 low tides. And the city water can go by gravity into the river only during the low tide. That is why right from the British time there's been array of pumping stations all connected in series at different locations to force pump the city water. Now, at the time of British, it was designed for a rain of 6 millimeter per hour. So, if it rained up to 6 millimeter per hour, the drainage pumping stations ensured that there will not be water logging. Now, the kind of havoc that we have been playing with the nature, the rainfall has become very erratic. And we have occasions where the rain crosses nearly 100 millimeter per hour, and that is the time when it kind of becomes inevitable when the city gets flooded. The solution that the city corporation, Kolkata Municipal Corporation, implemented, of course, with the help of the IT department, Government of West Bengal, is to ensure that how do we maximize the water runoff, and how do we synchronize it also with the tidal timing. So we have set up IoT sensors at each pumping stations. Then the sensors are there at the water level. So when it starts raining, the sensors will, there's an algorithm behind this that will start computing what is the water level at the sump and how many pumps are running. And then, it suggests that, whether the additional pump has to be switched on, what is the sump level that you maintain, what is going to be the tide timing and all. So that's the thing that our sensor has been doing on. The control room that we have set up has also got connected to the control room of Kolkata Police. Kolkata Police has array of CCTV network through which they do the traffic management, the law and order and all things. So that we have integrated these two. So our urban flooding solution also gets the data from the city police to see that which road has what water level, what is the flooding there, and there's a map defining that. So it will then designate that what is the catchment area, which is the pumping station that needs to be strengthened. So these are the IT solution. Of course, then there are manual interventions that we have to do. So there are labor gangs which will start working, making sure that the manholes are not clogged, because when it gets flooded, there are garbage going and clogging the manholes. So that has to be. So you'll also see during rains, the labor gangs being on the road and trying to make sure that your runoff does not get stopped.
Thank you, sir. I'll have a follow-up question on that. So it's raining, and in some place it's getting flooded, and I'm living in the city of Calcutta. So as a citizen, I want to interact with you. So how does Municipal Corporation of Calcutta uses social media to engage with citizens and provide them with better services?
We have our Twitter handle and the Facebook page, which is very popular, and citizens have been interacting with KMC through these two handles, not only about urban flooding. In fact, host of civic services. In fact, for the people living in the city, KMC is the one where day-to-day issues, be it water supply, be it garbage collection, be it vector control, be it primary health, be it about the schools, about the road cleaning. So all those things, so that's the social media thing. So there's a team which continuously tracks what is the kind of feedback coming, and then they will talk to the concerned nodal officer of the concerned department to make sure that they are reaching out and they are resolving the problems of citizens. Besides that, in fact, the control room that I talked about, and talking about the flooding, we also have a solution where citizen and as well as our field engineers, they can directly interact with the control room through video conferencing. So from their mobile, they can connect to our control room. So the senior officers, be it the city mayor, the commissioner, or the chief engineer, he can, sitting in the control room, he has a data of his pumping stations, as well as he can see the real ground situation which his engineers reporting, his Ashtenja, Savashtenja, or the citizen reporting. So that can come. The one thing more that I would like to mention with technology is that we have a WhatsApp bot. Now that bot has various modules, including booking your request for different services. There's one unique thing that we have done is we call it show to mayor. So if there's anything that you would like to bring it to the direct knowledge of the mayor of the city, you just click a photo and on the WhatsApp bot you do. Now why we went to the WhatsApp is because everybody has a mobile phone in his hand, and everybody is using the WhatsApp. So the feedback that we got is sometimes people do not find it very convenient to actually go to the web, With the app, the problem is that, there are so many of app and our phones are full of app. People do not want to add any additional app to that. But WhatsApp is something where, we have got a tremendous response.
So thank you, sir. Now I'd like to go to Ajitabh, sir. Sir, the era is of sustainability and green future, and being the CMD of Jaipur City's transport services, the Jaipur city must be investing a lot in electric vehicle, electric mobility, sustainable mobility. So what are your experiences from that, sir?
Okay. First of all, thanks to Elets for inviting me, and thanks to Binod, Swati, and Zakir ji, and Randhir ji, and all the audience who are present here. So, as regard to electric mobility, what we are attempting, and first of all, the current scenario is that my current fleet size is 300, and we are planning to add around roughly 1,000 electric buses in Jaipur city in a phased manner in 3 years. So first year we would be adding 300, that is 2023. 2024 we would be adding another 300 electric buses, and then 2025 the remaining 400 buses will be adding into our fleet. See, the point is that operating electric buses is not only about like hiring the buses maybe on NCC or GCC model or self-owned buses, though we are adopting the gross cost contract pattern which Government of India, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is also now propagating and asking all the states and city bus authorities to adopt. So on GCC model, but the major challenge is that how do we create a kind of electric mobility ecosystem? Because there are 2-3 different technical aspects when you induct electric buses in your fleet. That is, one is what is the range of those buses, so, and what is the size of the buses which we are hiring, like is it 7-meter bus, is it 9-meter bus, or is it 12-meter bus? That is mini, midi and standard. So each bus would be having a different range. So like the 9-meter Tata Motors electric buses are having a range of say like 180 kilometers. But in the Grand Challenge 2, which CESL has off late floated, so it is being claimed that the range of those midi buses would be more than 220 kilometers per day. So my average operation of a bus is roughly around 240 kilometers per day. So the first and biggest challenge is that if I procure electric buses which have a single charge range of like 180 kilometers or 200 kilometers, then there is a big problem. So that is the number one challenge, because I cannot keep my buses parked during the daytime, maybe at the depot or any terminal or any bus queue stop, where they take like, say, if it is a fleet of 300 electric buses, then if it takes like 1 or 2 hours, I cannot keep them unoperational during that period. The first challenge is the range of the buses which I procure. So if higher is the range, then battery size increases. If battery size increases, the average comes down. It hits my commercial viability. So the size of the bus, the range of the bus, the per kilometer gross cost contract which I will identify, these all parameters jointly, and the intermittent charging stations and ecosystem which I will have to create in whole of the city. These would be the challenges which I would have to take account of and then further titrate and then decide my fleet size. But few certain interventions which we are taking is that because of the impact of global warming and changing climate and the summer month getting preceded by a period of like 60 or 90 days, and we have severe impact, and sometimes the temperature reaches up to 40, 45 and sometimes to 50 degrees centigrade also in Jaipur city. So all new buses which we would be procuring would be electric and air conditioned. That is the first step we have taken, because if we ply non-air conditioned buses in a town like Jaipur city, then maybe during the non-peak hours the load factor would not be sufficient, and this problem we are already encountering. because people have started moving less out during the daytime when the temperature is very high in that period of 4 or 5 months. So we are trying to capture the traffic during that period also. One thing. Another thing is there is a big challenge that the battery life of these electric buses is like 7 to 8 years. Though they are on GCC model, but what happens, because the contracts in which we are entering with the service provider, it is say like for 12 and further extendable to 3, that is 15 years. So if it is for 12 to 15 years, then how does get built in that cost of repair, maintenance, though it comes into per kilometer cost, but these are the challenges. So we are looking after these challenges. And another thing is that regarding IT intervention, we have recently launched an app in Jaipur city for electronic ticketing and online ticket booking. So there the small intervention which we have done is that now all our buses are GPS enabled. So the new buses would also be GPS enabled. And at the same time, in all buses, the tickets are issued through ETM. I think it is same in Kolkata also, in Mumbai and Delhi. So we marry these two data sets and try to optimize the operations during the peak and non-peak hours. And we also reschedule and readjust our fleet size so that we are able to capture the highest load of passengers through the fleet size which I have. So, and the results are that now we have been able to capture, say, around, though if you compare it with Kolkata city, that number would appear to be very meager to you, but like we have increased 30% passenger load from the existing fleet size. So better asset utilization without making any investment in capex and without making not much of an investment in the software or data analytics part of the IT infrastructure, we have been able to optimize and improve and enhance our efficiencies. So this is all what we are like planning.
So like in some of the countries abroad, for transportation, they have got a card. And that card works everywhere. Go in taxi, go in car, go in buses, go in metro, go in train. So I don't think in India, in any city we have come up with such thing, or in any state where this can be merged so that we don't need to carry so many cards or so many apps. So what are your thoughts on that, sir?
See, I have also worked as the CMD of Jaipur Metro Rail Corporation for around 1 year and 3 months, and now I am looking after the city bus transport services in Jaipur. Both metro and now we have launched our card also. So our card would be like physical card which you carry. So you tap it on the ETM, it would be a kind of preloaded card.
Yes, sir.
You can generate the ticket. So even if you do not have the card is there because there are around 9 to 10 major concessional ticket categories also. Like for women, we would charge 50% only. Like for students, there would be 30% of the discount for freedom fighters and disabled. And so sometimes that physical card becomes necessary in the initial stages for the identification of the commuter. But there is a feature for the virtual card also. You can generate the online QR code also for the ticket. That is fine. But these all systems are closed loop cards as of now. So when I was in metro, I had basically what you are talking about is like an NCMC card, National Common Mobility Card, which was launched by Honorable Prime Minister and I think Delhi of late only. Initially DMRC. DMRC also had a lot of objections and hiccups in adopting NCMC. But what I have heard is I was in Delhi a week ago. So perhaps for few select routes they have adopted the NCMC thing. See, now the challenge in NCMC is that if there is a common card, so through that common card you can travel in city bus, you can travel in metro, and when you talk about Rajasthan, you can travel also in RSRTC, that is the state transport undertaking, which operates interstate and inter-district buses. So, but the initial challenge which comes among different authorities is that the revenue goes into one kitty. So it has to be segregated. There are IT solutions for it. NCMC provides IT solutions for it. So then it has to get distributed. So but when I was in metro, I suggested it to government that we should take a policy decision, because then it requires a policy decision, because Metro CMD is someone else, then CMD JCTSL is someone else, and CMD RSRTC is someone else. And maybe a day would come when we would talk about use of NCMC even by the private minibus operators. That is the whole idea. So there has to be a policy decision. Number two, how the revenue would be shared. There are IT solutions. But the biggest problem which I faced in Metro was that you have to upgrade your IT hardware infrastructure. From where that cost would come, because then it operates on a predefined software platform. So that platform has to be workable on your IT hardware also. So say for example, in my case, it will not happen directly through the payment gateway thing. In my case, then I will have to maybe replace my ETMs also. In Metro, it would be slightly easier, but then at the ticket checkpoint or the tap card hardware system, they will have to change that hardware system also. So at the initial level, it involves huge costs. So unless there is an organization or authority of the size of, say, like for Calcutta City or DMRC or Mumbai Best or DTC in Delhi, so they can come out with a viable financial solution in the long term. But for smaller organizations, MCMC would be little difficult at the first stage. And more so, then you have to rope in the banks and other financial institutions, because in the initial stage they will have to give some kind of added incentive, like in our card. So we charged 60 rupees for the card, but the travel kilometers we gave was around 110 kilometers.
More than what?
Yeah, so we subsidized in the initial phase. So the number of cards we distributed, they were instantly utilized within a period of 15 days. My system got tested, my IT system got tested. That was the whole idea behind it. So now how we are planning how to roll out the virtual card. And then later on we will progress towards NCMC. But yes, NCMC will certainly come a day. Time is not far. But we have to little bit patient about it, in the sense, and we have to think about it, that why DMRC itself, which is a giant and mammoth metro rail organization, the biggest organization, metro rail organization in the country, they also took some time. So I think that would be the next step for our IT intervention and public service.
Yes, thank you, sir. Now I'd like to come to Madam Bhadauria. Ma'am, sometime back, there was a crisis in Josimat. Since you hail from Uttarakhand, and you know, after Britishers left, I don't think in India we have created much cities, new cities I mean, except most probably Lavasa in Maharashtra. No new cities in my knowledge, so far my knowledge goes, no new hill station, no new cities have been created. Or in future it may come. So in view of the crisis in Josimat, how do you think that the cities, especially in unstable areas in Uttarakhand, to be made sustainable using the technology which we have available today?
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries present over here, and to my co-panelists. Thank you so much for having me here. And as sir has rightly mentioned, the Joshimat crisis very recently has created a lot of panic in our state as well as in the entire country, because Joshimat has been rightly termed as a sinking town, as sir has said. So when the cracks actually started, and I also tell it from my own personal experience, because I was also posted in Chamolia just a few months back before this crisis happened. So when the cracks are a regular kind of a feature in all of these cities as well as in the villages. But then when the cracks started developing, everybody was in a state of panic. Okay, it is happening, but how much it is happening, nobody knew. So again, from your conventional wisdom, you can tell that it is happening. We have to evacuate people, shift them to other places. But then unless and until you use some technological interventions, you will not get a view as to how much it is happening and what is the solution to it. So the first thing which was devised was a crack meter, was brought from the CBRI. so that we can have the exact measurement of how the crack is progressing, it is increasing or is it decreasing. So we had got a lot of crack meters from the CBRI. It is based on a simple technology. Again, it is a technology, but it is not that conventional kind of IT technology, but it is a simple technology which is based on like a tensed wire creates, if there's a tension in a strand, it vibrates with certain frequency. And the frequency is directly proportional to the tension in the wire. A software in the crack meter converts it into the length of the crack. So it is just monitored on that basis. And so these types of small interventions are also very important to see where our towns are going, because it is not very easy to develop. I mean, we always in Uttarakhand, we feel that environment as well as development has to go hand in hand, and a lot of new developmental initiatives are happening, like a new the national highway is being developed, 4-lane, and then railway connectivity is also being extended over there. But then we have to keep this technology, this green technology in mind, if we have to like progress sustainably. In fact, a few months back when I was there in 2021, a big disaster also broke out, and there were 2 HEPs, hydroelectric power plants. They were being constructed, and a lot of workers were working on it. So the cause was mostly natural, but then it might have been exaggerated a bit by the man-made things also. So there was a glacial burst which hit the 2 HEPs, and a lot of workers were working. And in that disaster, 204 people died. I mean, they went missing initially. So one is conventional, again, as I said, the way we rushed to the site, and then conventionally we tried JCBs and pokelanes and excavators to like evacuate people. But then immediately we also thought of using some technology to expedite the process, because the first 2-3 hours are very important. It is supposed to be the golden hour, and we can save a lot of lives if we work very prudently in those times. So we used that ground penetrating radars. So there were a lot of tunnels in the NTPC hydroelectric power plant. So one of the tunnels, we send it sends radio waves into the ground, and then the GPR gives it back as to like how long is how wide is the blockage, or is the slush or whatever it is. So in one of the tunnels, we realized that it is hollow inside. So immediately ITBP was sent to that tunnel, and the slushing began very fast. So we could rescue 12 people from that tunnel, only thanks to this technology. Otherwise, because everything was blocked in front of us, so we did not know where to try first. So this was the technology which was used, and we actually realized it is hollow kind of inside, so we might get people out very quickly. So this is one technology. But then when we used it in the other tunnel, not many people, it was already slushy, a liquidy kind of a thing, so the GPR was not able to function in that. It was not sending any waves back. It was like receiving all the waves we were sending, it was not sending anything back. So we realized, okay, it must be fully covered, the tunnel must be fully covered with the slush and all of these muck. So it is not sending, so it might be difficult to save some people over there. Then we thought of a remote sensing camera, there was a camera sent through a drilled part, and it was sent inside the tunnel. And again, it is again a technology, and we found that nothing is left in that tunnel, and it is all covered with slush. So we had lost hope, although we just went on slushing the tunnel, and slowly and steadily we started getting some bodies. Obviously, no live recovery was made from there. So, and then we had thought after like 3 or 4 days it is very difficult to save live people alive, but then the families had also started coming in, and we had to at least recover their dead bodies. So the drones were also used, because it was a very, very big river which was flowing right in front of the tunnel, and which right in front of the HEPs. So a lot of dead bodies were recovered using the drone cameras. So at least when we recovered any body using the drone cameras, we used to send our NDRF teams and everybody, and they used to bring the bodies. So these are small little things where the technology can be used in these are very simple technologies, but then they are very important important if a lot of lives have to be saved. And similarly, a glacial lake was made, I mean, in the upper reaches of the Himalayas, and we got the information that a glacial lake has been made, and it might breach, it might break its wall, and the entire downstream villages may be washed away. So the first thing we did was like aerial recce was used, and after the aerial recce we realized that okay, there actually is a lake. Now how to measure, like will it be very, very dangerous? If it is dangerous, we'll have to evacuate the people. If it is not dangerous, we can just let it be. So it is very important to know how to do it. So, but then it was in a very treacherous kind of terrain, very, very far off. So Navy and as well as the Air Force, they were used, and using very like winching, the IF helicopters winched the Navy people, and they measured it very accurately using the echo sounder. Echo sounder is a very, very simple, again, it is based on the sonar kind of technology. So it was a very simple technology, but that solved a lot of our problem, and the depth and height and width and everything was measured by the scientists, and then they also measured the strength of the mud walls around it, and it was realized it's not going to like breach it so quickly, and if we clear the obstacles slowly, then the water will have its own free flow, and it is not going to breach the wall, and it is not going to create another disaster on the top of that. So like we work in a very disastrous kind of a situation. We have to be very, very crucial, careful that we don't have to take development to that level where it starts creating disaster of its own. So other than that, also like in forest fires, we also have a lot of forest fires in Uttarakhand, especially in March to the month of May, June, we have a lot of forest fires. So because when the forests catch fire, then it's very difficult to douse them. So it's very important to detect it in the early stages. So there are 3 satellites, and FSI has developed that system, wherein the satellite imagery is continuously using the infrared signaling. It keeps sending alerts to all the, wherever it finds a little bit of heat and fires. So it keeps sending signals to us and to the forest control room, to the DFOs, to the district magistrate, everywhere. So once we detect those forest fires, some of them may not actually be have developed into fires, but then we send our teams immediately to those places, and then they manually obviously douse it. So these small little things are very important in our state of Uttarakhand, which is ecologically very fragile. These are some of the curative kind of things. We can also use it for preventing disasters. Like we had in Himalayas, most of the rivers are very perennial in nature, but then we also have some seasonal rivers, and then they need to be like revived because they keep drying as they flow from the source, and as they come to the bottom to the like plain areas, it starts drying. So we took up a project, river rejuvenation of Mothugad River. So wherein GIS technology was used, because generally what happens is we just ponds are dug and infiltration holes are made and whatever is done, but then there's no planning behind it. Wherever anybody wants, they just dig it. So a GIS mapping of the entire Mothugad area was made, and it was divided into 12 recharge zones, and all of those zones, we exactly pinpointed where infiltration hole is needed, where trenches are needed, where plants are needed, where check dams are needed. So that way the people and the volunteers and our own workers were sent with the GPS device, and they dug, because it is based on the slope. If we dig anything anywhere, it is not going to be of any use. So the exact locations were pointed on the GPS map, and the people and the volunteers used to dig or plant or do whatever is prescribed in that map over there. So that quickly gave us a good result, and that also fortunately won us the PM award for Namami Gange. So these small little technologies go a long way in implementation of a green and sustainable kind of environment in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You know, in Chile, there was a mine in 1990s. It was an open cast mine, and the slope failure was predicted 4.5 years in advance. And exactly that date time, 1 hour was the error. So that was the prediction in 90s. Nowadays, we have got so much of technology, especially these GPRs. Then few days back, ISRO has come up with India's coastline maps, how it has changed over 10 years, last 10 years, 20 years, over the decades, how it has changed, how much land area we have lost to the sea, or how shape has changed. So all these things can be predicted. So do you think whatever you just narrated, all these things are taken into the state disaster management plan so that it can be proactively, or prevention is better than cure, we all know that, so that it can be prevented. Majority of disaster in Himalayas, unstable Himalayas, tertiary Himalayas, is slow failure. At least slow failure can be predicted in advance. We can warn our citizen. So all those, if State Disaster Management Authority, I don't know whether they are planning or have already incorporated entire mapping of the state in this regard.
Yes, our we have a state disaster management authority, and as far as landslide prediction is concerned, it is being done in a very pilot kind of a mode. Nowhere in India has it been developed, has it been scaled to such a level that it is very smooth running system. But then, yes, it has been done in a as a pilot project in a lot of places. In our district also it was done, and so we had identified 6 of the very unstable slopes, and they were treated by the NHI, DCL, and other agencies, PIU from the government of India. They were engaged to treat those parts of the slopes. So it is being done. And then there are a lot of technologies. When the slope failure, when we realize that there will be a slope failure, we have to do something about it, obviously. So the slope stabilization things and all of those are being taken up in the in the state of Uttarakhand.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to go to Mr. Siddiqui. Sir, you are from RailTel, which is a technological corporation dealing with technology from the railways family. You know, we have got around 1 to 2% of data center capacity in India, out of the world's capacity. And data centers are rated. How do you define data center? What is the size of data center? We say 40 megawatt, 50 megawatt. We never say the storage capacity, we never say the RAM capacity, we never say the compute capacity. We say it's 40 megawatt, 100 megawatt, 2 megawatt, 2 gigawatt. So, what will be in next 10 years, where should we be in data center capacity along with the sustainable goal of reaching it? Because it's huge energy intensive thing.
Thank you. Well, all the dignitaries gracing the dais, participants of the dais, a very good afternoon. Well, before reacting to your question, I was just thinking about the very topic of this discussion, which is a technological way of green and sustainable environment. I think technology is the only way of green sustainable environment. I hope we all agree with that. And as my co-panelists just spoke about how the technology is being used to take care of that catastrophe which has unfolded there at Uttarakhand. Now coming to the question which you have asked, very rightly pointed out, sir, the capacity of data center which we have is negligible when we compare with the amount of data is being generated in India. In our earlier discussions also, we have seen how almost every state has so many of applications with the end objective of delivering the services to the citizen at their doorsteps. And all these create data. To have those data in a very accessible manner and secure manner, it is essential to have the data center not only with the capacity but available as close to the service delivery point as possible, so as to take care of the latency as well as the non-availability of network to connect those data centers with the nearby service delivery points. And we certainly believe that edge data center is the future. Earlier, there used to be time when the data centers were far and few, located in some corner of the country. It started with the Bangalore, and almost entire country were using that data center to reach and make those facilities available. With time now, this is possible that we can have those data centers available very close to the actual point of service. And that is only the probably way forward, which would not only take care of that scarcity of the capacity as of now, which is there, but also, as I said, the non-availability of network to reach that particular data center, because now the applications are becoming more and more data generating. At the same time, they need real-time response, as against the earlier applications where probably certain delay in response was acceptable, because when we are talking about using these technologies in health sector, and with the 5G coming in, we know one of the major use case of 5G is in health sector. So therein, the latency in serving those requirements would be the prime importance. It is where the edge data center comes in, and I'm sure that in time to come, not more than a year or two, we'll be having edge data centers placed approximately every couple of kilometers.
No, the data centers will be decentralized in future, as you said, edge data center. But the opposite of this theory is the ultra low latency, which 5G will be offering. Like when I'm driving a car sitting here and car is in London, the response has to be ultra low latency has to be there.
Yes.
So that whenever I am just turning the wheel in London is turning.
Correct.
So if that is happening on 5G, then why the case of edge data center? Then there is no need of putting edge data center everywhere, every few kilometers.
Yeah, I'll come to that. 5G is basically the last mile delivery. It would connect the end user with the nearest point. It doesn't do away with the requirement of data center. Because 5G would only enable me, like I am having a device here. This device can be a part of my car, as you have pointed out in your example, that would generate the data and it would interact with an application which is in the cloud. Now the cloud is certainly not in car. Cloud is somewhere which is a data center. In my case, what I am presenting here is edge data center. So the closer it is with the car, the faster would be the response. It is as simple as that. No technology, even 5G, or AI would do away with the requirement of data center, because ultimately these technology would use some kind of application which has to be hosted somewhere. Closer that place of hosting, the better it is.
In fact, I was working under Binod sir. He was my district magistrate in North 24 Pagnas,
Right.
and I was additional district magistrate. We created the first district data center of the country in DM office itself in
Yes.
year it doesn't exist now. In 2010 we created. So it was like we were not knowing D of the data center. We did the tender. We generated our own resources from the savings, and we created
And
it.
that experience would last forever, I would say, no matter how much you create in future, but that you cannot.
So in 2010, the e-office implementation was the first in North 24 Pagana in this country. The first district was, and for that, internet connectivity was so bad that we could not host it in NDC or Lakshmi Nagar data center or Hyderabad. So we had to create our own data center to run the e-office. So that will be the way out in future. The
Sorry
data
to
center.
interrupt, but see, there is a big lacuna. I do not say that in our country or in our regulations. You are from the IT sector, and you are also in charge of perhaps the state data center, Binod was telling me. But the problem is that we need to categorize set of kind of, you use the word latency, but the set of data structures which we have to access instantly.
Correct.
And utilize them.
Right.
So like abroad, in case of health data, say like hospitals would be needing the health data at the very same moment, instantly.
Absolutely.
So taking that data maybe on the cloud or maybe on some remote data center is not advisable.
Absolutely.
And there are very strict regulations abroad that such and such category of data has to be retained within the easy and instant access and reach of the user. But then the remaining part of majority of the data in terms of cost viability, usability, and for security reasons has to ultimately go to the cloud.
Right.
So while talking about data centers, we are forgetting about the cloud feature or the cloud facility which is available.
Right, sir.
So now all big IT vendors are projecting and propagating and marketing the cloud solutions like anything.
Sir.
Cloud is certainly a much cheaper way,
Sir.
more secure, because if you go for this distributed data center
centers.
kind of thing, for all kinds and different varieties of data, security itself would become a big issue. handling of data centers would become a big issue, because like as what he had also mentioned, that data center doesn't exist as of now, because this technology is so fast changing. And if there are big companies, IT companies and IT firms, they can keep on upgrading their systems. So cloud for 90% of the data is not at all a bad solution. So I'll give you an example of my state.
Yeah.
So the state data center which we have, it is I think level 4 or what you call. So at that time it was the best data center in whole of the Asia, not only country,
Great,
including China. We had that. It was I think around 5 years ago, Bhamasha data center. But I do not mince words in saying that the capacity utilization of that data center has not reached even 20%, because the kind of supporting platforms, IT platforms which you are using, they promote, or they are rather built like that you have to take your data on cloud, because your platforms and softwares are cloud solution based. So 90% of the data will ultimately go on cloud.
Yes.
So
Yes,
10% of the data which you can host, but in totality you can host, we are also using. But at number of places and in most of the states, the capacities are lying unutilized. Because, so that's what. So we have to be very mindful in having that kind of understanding and differentiation.
Sir, ours is reverse.
Exactly.
Our has reached more than 80%, and we are unable to cater to the peak load. Sir has set up his own data center, small data center in KMC, because we were unable to give them space. So we have now just RailTel has got the tender, and they are
RailTel is doing work in
process.
Rajasthan.
So we are
We
doing
have done some work in Rajasthan
We
also.
are increasing it to 6 petabyte size storage.
No, I was asking the size.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 6.
Yes, sir, 6 petabyte. So I'd like to thank Binod sir, Ajitabh sir, Madam Bhadauria, and Mr. Siddiqui for an engaging discussion. If you any question from audience?
So I have a question from Vinod sir. What are we doing to manage our garbage? Means, are we looking for, develop any kind of smart dustbins? So all these issues, means the flooding and the garbage overflow, dengue, we can manage all these things. Are we doing something like this in West Bengal or in Kolkata?
Garbage collection is one of the most important concepts which the city corporation has to do. Unfortunately, our segregation of waste, we were doing it only in 27 wards out of 144. But from 1st of October, 2022, we have now implemented segregation, though belated, sorry, late, because there are other cities, small cities who had implemented segregation. So that segregation has started. We have, given bins to each house of different colors. Our, the waste collection vehicle now has been made with the compartments and all. We had, the place is called Dhapa, which has, the big mound where all the waste had been dumped. Now that's being cleared now. So we are clearing our legacy waste. Already, 45 lakhs metric ton of waste has been cleared. There are scores of cities. We have now also set up a bio-CNG plant. So from waste to energy we are doing. We have set up a plastic recycling plant there. So from the legacy, whatever plastic comes out is, it's recycled, and beautiful furnitures are being made. Now they are selling those furniture to the market, as well as we are also a buyer. So we are buying those furnitures for our city schools. Then we also have, the composting plant from whatever the organic waste which is coming out from the legacy. So those are very popular. That's again being sold outside, and the Parks and Garden wing of the city is also buying part of this. Now, the good thing is that the National Green Tribunal, they have become very strict, and we take that as an opportunity, because many a times the good thing that you want to do gets a resistance or a bottleneck on two counts. One, of course, is the financial. Second can also be the political, where people want the priorities may be somewhere else. People may want to do some other work and not so much for the environment. That's where, I'm thankful to the National Green Tribunals, where, they kind of, by tying our hand, have facilitated these things. So these are the works that we are doing in the solid waste management.
My question was that are we getting the garbages separated at source? Because you have told that we were already distributing.
Yeah, from the 1st of October 2022, we are segregating that at source.
Yeah, so is it useful? Because most of the people don't know. They used to throw garbages on the same bins. If you are talking about orange and the green bins, then they were using to throw the liquid and the solid waste in the same garbages. So we were doing anything to aware them so that we can get the garbages separated at source, or either we can use some smart dustbins. So that will help, because to aware the citizens, it's more difficult because we were already seeing these kind of things. So are we thinking of that things to aware the citizens, or to create something IoT smart devices so it will check the humidity and separate the garbages at source?
No,
so we will be requiring on the recycle bins.
As of now, we have given traditional bins to the citizens, but the IEC had started on a big way, because over decades people have been mixing their waste, and one fine day, just by giving a dustbin, they are not going to segregate. So this requires a lot of effort. There have been series of awareness programs that has happened. We have invited our city councillors. We have invited there are various NGOs, the school children. We have held such meetings, taken out rally in every ward, in every basti, and our SWM worker who goes, he is kind of every day requesting, when he sees violation, when he sees that the waste have been mixed, then he kinds of so initially we have provisions, we can penalize people and all, but habit change, it's something which requires a lot of effort. So we are at that time, we are now in the counseling, and kind of with folded hand we are requesting people. What is positive and very encouraging is that people have now started responding, and I'm happy to state that children, they understand much better than the parents. The children have been, because they are taught about that in the school, they read about that, they read about that in the various hoardings that we have put up, various ads that we take out and all. So they talk. So the segregation has been increasing, and now we are thinking that we are kind of now we have reached the critical level where the compliance has come quite a bit. So we have now crossed around 3/4 of compliances are happening. Now for that remaining, we'll have to now start penalizing people.
So my last question is our Kolkata Municipal Corporation is
Please give opportunity to others too. Anyone else?
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randhir, Kumar sir, for this wonderful moderation of panel discussion 2. And this brings us to the end of our panel titled Technological Way Forward for Ensuring a Green and Sustainable Environment. And through this panel, we got to hear a lot of opinions and knowledge sharing and think tanks of the industry and government decision makers here. I would request the panelists to stay back on stage for a little longer for speakers felicitation ceremony, and to give away our speakers memento. I would like to welcome Dr. Ravi Gupta, our CEO, on the stage, and we also have an IAS officer from Rajasthan cadre, Shri Mahindra Kumar Parekh, to please come and join Dr. Ravi Gupta for giving away the speaker mementos, starting with our speaker from Rajasthan who has joined, and he's the chairman managing director of Jaipur City Transport Services, Ajitabh Sharma ji. So Dr. Ravi and Mahindra Parekh, if you can give away the speaker memento. Plus we also have our eGov magazine, which has been launched in the morning, and a pic with our magazine and speaker memento, please. I've now, right? Hold there. Mahindra sir, if you can also join in giving away the memento. Next, Shri Binod Kumar, Municipal Commissioner of Kolkata Municipal Corporation. On the line, thank you so much, sir, for joining and telling us a lot of insights and some new developments going in the municipal administration. Mr. Mahinder, if you can please join in giving away the mementos. Next, we have Swati Bhadauria, Secretary to Governor from Government of Uttarakhand. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in and throwing light on your views and opinion. Next, we have our industry and our partner speaker from RailTel, Zakir Husain Siddiqui, the Executive Director of Eastern Region. Thank you so much, sir. We also have his presentation, which can be looked forward in the later half of the day. And lastly, for our moderator, Shri Randhir Kumar, sir, the Secretary. Sir, up. Randhir, sir, your memento, please. Speaker memento for Randhir, sir, you as well.